he started me at 20 million where I was thinking, oh, this is awesome. And then we got up to 115 million and I went, oh, I can't do this. And 115 million, what is it? 300 billion now? Oops. Great. Yeah. Okay. Here are my biggest failures. Okay, you ready? I passed on Google and Facebook and Yahoo and okay, so my biggest failures to act on these entrepreneurs. But before you bet on these entrepreneurs, there are a few things to watch out for. Watch out for the relationship between the founders. First of all, if they both want to be the CEO, they'll talk over each other in the meeting. If they're dating, all they really care about is like dating, and they're not really as interested in what they're pitching you. They're just having the excitement and the whatever. I want to talk about how I like to invest. Because you're all investors and you're thinking, God, really? Am I going to back this, guy who's got this sort of crazy idea? Why am I thinking about it? I've got a good real estate business going. Why do I want to mess with this? Well, you do because it is the future of progress, and it helps the world in a huge way to take your money and put it behind these entrepreneurs who are then going to make something of it. And be prepared to lose that money. Just get into the habit of losing and failing. At our school, Draper University, one of our pledge items is, I will fail and fail again until I succeed. As investors, I want you to look at it that way. And now I'll tell you kind of a few things that I think about when I'm investing. First of all, we are global. So I'm always looking for something that's really big and transcends geographic borders. And then is this an industry where you're getting bad service at a high cost? So maybe you guys can come up with a few. What industries are out there right now that you feel are getting bad service at a high cost? Anybody? Healthcare. Oh my God. Worst service, highest cost. It's crazy. Any others? Education. There's that weird artificial union premium that somehow we're paying for a good education. Anything else? What did I hear? Government. You've heard me speak before. So what I usually say is I first pick on my own industry. I say finance. Finance is this industry where we pay a crazy high price for our banks, for our investment banks, for our venture capitalists. We pay crazy prices and we get bad service. And what do you do about that? Well, whenever I look at an industry, I say, if it's got those characteristics, really high costs and a really high price for the service and really bad service, I say, what technology can be used to transform that industry? What can we do to go after healthcare, education, government, finance? What technology is out there that can sort of change the nature of those industries and give the entrepreneur a chance to build a wedge into a market that then can grow and eventually transform that industry so everybody gets good service at a low cost? So right now, that technology, I think there are lots of great technologies out there. There's 3D printing, there's CRISPR, there's all the marketplaces, the Uberization of everything, there's IoT, there are all sorts of really interesting technologies to bet on out there. But the one that's going to go after all these regulated industries is the blockchain and Bitcoin. It's unbelievable. Having a perfect ledger basically eliminates the need for all that bureaucracy. So I look at those industries, I look for that big margin, and I look for those technologies that are going right for something that could be really extraordinary. Then, is this business interesting? Is it unique? Is it something that I could go and do? If I can go and do it, forget it. Is it something that has an interesting new twist? Is there an idea in there? And then I think, okay, well, my specialty is business modeling. And so I then don't actually even care what they're thinking about for a business model, but then I go and I challenge those entrepreneurs with a business model and get them really thinking about the business model as much as they might have even thought about the technology, because that could be the make or break for the business. You keep the business alive long enough, it becomes successful. And then thing that we see thousands of business plans every year, and so we don't get to meet everybody. And so I make the cut based on how big's the market, is it an industry that needs transforming, and is it interesting technology? And then I say, okay, this passes all those tests, and I meet the entrepreneur. The one thing I'm looking for when I meet the entrepreneur is incredible gusto and enthusiasm. They have to just love what they're doing. It doesn't have to be like cheerleading, go team, but it does have to be like, I always ask this one question. It's a good question for all of you to ask when you're looking at an entrepreneur. Why are you doing this? Do it that way. Why are you thinking? What are you thinking? Why are you doing this? And then it's interesting. The great entrepreneurs are separated from the would-be entrepreneurs very quickly. The would-be entrepreneurs say, well, because my friend thought it was a good idea, and I would have. Or the bold ones say, I want to make money. Or they say, I want to make you money. Those are sort of the clever ones. But the one that I back is the one that says, because it has to be this way. Because I told my boss over and over, this is the way that all the customers want this. This is so important. And my boss just wouldn't listen because he's got that gravy train going. And he knows that we got to do it this. He knows that maybe we got to do it this way, but he just has this great thing going, and it's an innovator's dilemma or whatever. But I've got to do it. And if I'm not going to do it with you, I'm going to do it with somebody else. There are plenty of people, plenty of fish in the sea. When I see that, I think, okay, this guy or girl, that when you see an entrepreneur like that, go ahead and take the plunge with them and think in terms of like, hey, I want to try this. This is going to be pretty interesting. And here's the way I would invest in venture capital. I would take the money that you have that you can basically throw away and your life won't change. And then divide that into 20 pieces and then divide that, each of those in half, and then put that much money into this entrepreneur that you fall in love with. And then what'll happen is you'll find another one and do 3 right away. Like tomorrow, you'll see a bunch of them. Invest in 3 of them right away, because then nobody can blame you for just blowing it with that one entrepreneur you backed, because you can go, oh no, it's a portfolio. I've got 3. He's like, oh yeah, well, they're having trouble, but these other 2, and it's the same recommendation I give to new analysts and associates in venture firms. Just get redone, because then they can't look at you and just think of that one loser you brought to them. And try to win every time, but expect to lose 60% of the time. And the reason I say 60, first of all, that's about my record. But the other thing is, if you expect to win more than half the time, you're going to be disappointed and you're going to stop investing. But if you expect to lose more than half the time, you're going to go in there and go, okay, I might lose it. Pretty likely I'm going to lose it, but I'm behind you and I believe in you and I hope that you make this thing successful. Starting a business is so hard. It is brutal. Survival training at Draper University doesn't even test them to what they're going to have to go through when they actually do run a business. And you've got to kind of be when you're an investor, you got to kind of be a big supporter, a cheerleader, but also a psychologist or a psychiatrist. They have real emotional problems. Think about this. Elon Musk, he says, we're going to Mars. And everybody goes, that guy's crazy. But then there's like 3 or 4% of the people that go, how would we get to Mars? And some of them are the best engineers in the world, and they go, I want to work for that guy. So he's alone, though. He's out there alone for a long time before people start recognizing that, hey, yeah, maybe we'll get to Mars. But it's tough, and that's why, we say you get rid of the high school hangouts. Now, because you've got to be willing to stand there alone and just be there. Here I am. I believe in this, and I'm just going to keep believing this, and I'm just hoping that people start understanding that this is the way to go. And so it's good for you to sort of say, yeah, I believe in your vision. I'm behind you. Keep going. And a lot of times entrepreneurs are kind of deciding, do I take the safe route or always encourage them to take the risky route. Always. That's the one they really want. That's the one in the back of their mind. And that's the one that'll make you a fortune. So then you've got these, you've decided to bet on these entrepreneurs. But before you bet on these entrepreneurs, there are a few things to watch out for. Watch out for the relationship between the founders. First of all, if they both want to be the CEO, they'll talk over each other in the meeting. If they're dating, all they really care about is like dating, and they're not really as interested in what they're pitching you. They're just having the excitement and the whatever, and they're not really going to dedicate their lives to it. Or maybe one of them is. But that relationship is going to blow up, and so is the business. So I don't recommend that. But if they're married, it works. But you've got to tell them that one of you is CEO And whoever that is has to be able and willing to take all the risks that they have to take to make this thing successful. Because what usually happens is one spouse is the one who says, we got to make sure that we can pay for everybody's education, and we got to do this and that. Well, you need one of them to just go, yeah, but I'm the CEO and we're going to try this. And this may totally blow up, and we're going to have to go get jobs. Incidentally, at Draper University, we have this exercise. Okay, you have 24 hours, go get a job offer on paper from somebody you've never met before. They go out, they do about 90% of them come back with a job offer on paper. It's pretty amazing. But what we're really telling them is, hey, you can always go get a job. You can't always change the world. You can always get a job. A couple of other things. These are kind of broad classifications, but make sure the person fits the job, and make sure that the passion just isn't somebody who has a really good way of selling. You don't get sort of thrown into the sales pitch. And the good way to do that is to meet them twice, because the first day they may be pitching this, and the next day they may be pitching something else. And then the other gotcha in my mind is, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I scream running away from entrepreneurs that are serial entrepreneurs, because I think, wait, serial entrepreneur, you're just going to, you're here for a quick hit and then you're gone. I mean, I'm counting on you to run this business for your life. And you're telling me that you've done this 6 times, and, some of them you sold, some of them you lost all the money, whatever. I'm thinking, well, great. I'm glad you're able to try and try again. And I think it's okay to have entrepreneurs who have failed, and they keep trying and going. But if they call themselves a serial entrepreneur, it's something to watch out for, because then that's in their mind. It's like, I just go from one to the next to the next. They've got to have, the ones that are great are the ones that say, yeah, I did this and I failed. And then I tried again with this little different pitch and I failed. And this time I'm going to do it right. But I'm still going after kind of that same thing. Although there's one exception here. That is, if an entrepreneur has made a fortune and done an outstanding job, then the second time around, you don't want that person in the same industry. They carry too much baggage. You want them doing something entirely different, but you've got a total winner. So it's still worth backing them, as long as it's something very different. So that's the exception to the rule. There are always exceptions, and always bet on the exceptions. You're looking for the outlier. You're looking for the crazy guy, the crazy girl, the one who's kind of a little, maybe like, are they off, or is she off, or is she brilliant? It's got to be a little bit of that. And then the other thing I think about, if they come from the financial world, sometimes they don't, it's all about the numbers, and that doesn't do it. And if they come from the best, are usually the ones that come from the engineering world or the marketing world, usually. Not a total rule, but usually. Because the marketing people sort of see this connection between the customer and the engineering, and the engineers come up with these really incredible things that could apply to interesting markets. With that, great, yeah. Okay, here are my biggest failures. Okay, you ready? I passed on Google and Facebook and Yahoo. And okay, so my biggest failures to act. It's not like what everybody's thinking is failures. Oh, these little failures, you lose money. Who cares? You lose money one time. I missed out on 10,000 times on my money on Google. My partners all said, wait, we can't do Google. We have 6 other search engines. I was with Larry and Sergey on the plane, and I met these guys, and I thought, whoa, these guys are impressive. This is impressive. And I said, but there are a lot of other search engines. We'd already backed 6 of them. Somehow the discussion went the wrong way there. And Facebook, I got outbid. And what else? Facebook, my God, it just killed me, because my daughter, it's all she could talk about. And she was on Facebook all the time. And I thought, there's something here. But they were very clever, and they played us against another venture firm, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the guy kept coming back and apologizing and saying, so sorry, it's going to have to be 40 million this time. I said, okay. Then he'd come back a week later. I'm so sorry. It's going to have to be 80 million. This is Sean Parker. He's brilliant. That guy's amazing. Best negotiator I've ever seen. He started me at 20 million, where I thought, I was thinking, oh, this is awesome. And then we got up to 115 million, and I went, oh, I can't do this. And 115 million, what is it? 300 billion now? Oops. So those are the biggest failures. And in doing things, I never really feel those are great failures. It's like, okay, so yeah, I invested in this entrepreneur, I lost my money. So what? I still live perfectly fine. Yes. And here's what has to happen. And I know how to do this now, because I kind of had the problem myself.